The sounds of the following spelling alphabet words transmit well, even in poor communication conditions. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie.
Welcome to the first actual episode of Alpha Bravo Charlie. I'm Jason, your host, and I'm with my buddy Kevin from Canada. Kevin, how you doing, buddy?
I like when, and this is not a criticism of you whatsoever. I love when Americans just say Canada, because I wouldn't say, oh, this is my buddy Jason from America, right? I would find some sort of and I don't want to dox you and say where you're from.
I'm from Ohio in America. Yeah.
And so I'm from Manitoba, but to a lot of Americans, they don't know that word doesn't mean anything to them, which I always find that is just a source of like, well, how come we understand most of America, but Americans don't understand Canada? And here I am, episode 1, and I'm already ranting and raving about an entire country of people. So.
What's funny is I said you're so much more than a person from Canada, but to me, being a white guy from the Midwest in America, you're exotic. So okay. I feel like right. I'm like, look at me. I have a Canadian friend. I'm very pro-Canadian. So
as a white guy born in Vancouver, I don't think I've ever been called exotic before, but I'll take it.
Yeah, I know how stupid it is. I said, but like, it was just the first thing in the description of you that came to my mind when I said my buddy. So Kevin, a very nice gentleman from another country, and I are both Wilco fans. We're both Bash of the Hound fans, and we're going to talk about some Wilco. We are going to talk about the song "Was I in Your Dreams" from Being There tonight. Kevin, why don't you start us off, talk about your initial feelings, then we'll listen to the song, and then we will talk over the song so that you can't steal the song from us, and then can carry that conversation on after the song is over.
So this is depending on your format, this is either a disc 2 side 4 or just a disc 2, but it's a late album Being There song. Wilco is a band with a vast catalog, and Being There is a deep album. When I think of Being There, I think of Monday, I think of Misunderstood, I think of Sunken Treasure. I don't necessarily always think of Was I in Your Dreams. And we should note, too, that the reason we're doing Was I in Your Dreams first is because the Was I is in parenthesis, which technically, according to Microsoft Excel, who you should always, believe and follow.
It taught me about sex, first. So...
That's alarming. Makes it first in the alphabet. But it's a deeper song. It's a ballad. If you go to a Wilco concert in the year 2020, if you're able to go to a Wilco concert in 2020,
you're not.
It's not a song you're likely to hear. But I don't think that's a criticism of the quality of the song. I think it's just maybe been lost a little bit over the years.
Technically, not technically, absolutely, you're right. Wilco, the band, have performed this song live fewer than 40 times. I don't know how fewer than 40 times why couldn't they just count the actual number? But fewer than 40 times is what we have here, according to the book, Wilcopedia. And Jeff Tweedy himself has played Was I in Your Dreams a further 50-ish times in his solo shows. So about 90 times the song has been played live.
Yeah, and think how many Wilco concerts there have been in total. Think how many. There's not a lot. There weren't a lot of Wilco shows before Being There, right? They toured for AM, yes, but think of all the shows after the song came out versus all the songs before, and it's definitely weighted for after the song came out. So there's a lot of opportunities to play this song.
I'm going to disagree with you there. They have so many songs that people want to hear when they go, that they kind of have to, after 11 albums, they have to pick the songs.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
Okay, I got you.
There's a lot of opportunities to have played this song but it hasn't ever been a set list regular, except for maybe that original Being There tour.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably where most of the 40 times they have played it, it happened.
And that's what I was getting at.
Okay, I'm gonna play the song and we can talk over it and give our thoughts on it.
So, I think the when I listened to the song, just in prep for this episode, and tried to think of it within context of the band's history, I think this is an important example of the type of song that wouldn't have been possible for Uncle Tupelo, which is, of course, if not as dirty on Wilco as I am. It's the band that basically the predecessor for Wilco. The first Wilco lineup was very similar to the last Uncle Tupelo lineup. And this wouldn't have been possible on the first Wilco record. This song has a lot of depth to it, and I think that's thanks to the piano playing and the guitar playing.
Do you mean musically?
Yeah, musically. Okay. Yeah, a lot of depth to it musically. Thanks to Jay Bennett on the lead guitar, and you got to assume he's on the piano as well. Yeah. There is no track list, the individual performance listing for any of the songs on Being There, but I think we can make some guesses that Ken Coomer's on the drums, John Steerit's on the bass, Jeff's doing rhythm guitar and vocals, Jay's likely doing that lead guitar and the piano. Max Johnson was a part of the band at this point, doing like mandolin and dobro and fiddle. Yeah. I don't know what he's doing on this song, to be perfectly honest. Maybe there's some mandolin deeper in the mix. But to me, this song is made from that lead guitar line and the piano working together, which wouldn't have been possible without Jay Bennett.
Yeah, and Jay was. Does Jeff play piano at all?
I'm sure Jeff can play piano. He does play in the Low Key music video for off the Tweety record. In the music video, he plays, I think, an electronic keyboard there. And he definitely plays synthesizer on some of like the Ghost's board, but not like this.
Yeah.
I think there's just a lot of soul in Jay's playing, which really comes across on this song.
Jay was great, but he, I don't want to get off a whole tangent about Jay. Even now, watching the I'm Trying to Break Your Heart documentary, I can never tell who the dickhead is between Jay and Jeff.
Well, that's a great thing about documentaries and real life is everyone's sort of a dickhead, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And when you think of that famous conversation of them trying to mix Heavy Metal Drummer, and they have that argument.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never had so much anxiety over a stupid conversation in my entire life.
And it's not just that conversation. There's years of feelings going behind that conversation too. But this great era, because Jeff Tweedy, Jay Bennett, by all accounts, if you've read Greg Kott's book, Learning How to Die, the best of bros at this point. When Being There was being recorded. Yeah, they were just becoming friends. I can't imagine there's a lot of studio arguments, or at least not serious studio arguments, when they were cutting a song like Was I in Your Dreams.
I'm going to say something that this song, it's going to be an unpopular opinion, I'm sure. And I'm sure you're not going to like this opinion. I like the song, just like I like every song on Being There. But a lot of the songs on Being There have a real Sesame Street / Muppets vibe to them. And it doesn't ruin the song for me. I still love the songs, but it's very prevalent. Like when I listen to Out of Mind, Out of Sight, that sounds like the original opening to Sesame Street to me. Yeah,
I mean, that version of the song gets labeled by fans. I don't know if by the band is the Sesame Street version, because of course there's
that's a normal thing then.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I never heard anybody say that.
I would have to assume that was an intentional decision, at least to a certain point. I don't hear that so much on Was I in Your Dreams. To me, if I listen to this song, close my eyes and try to picture it, I'm in a smoky club at maybe 1:30 a.m., close to closing. Back in the era when people could smoke in bars. Mm-hmm. Maybe the band's on stage and they're tired. Like, it just feels like an end of the night tired song. That's why I think it is perfectly placed near the end of the album. It's definitely a little sluggish compared to, say, Kingpin, which comes before it, or later on the side of the album, Dreamer in My Dreams, which is like a barn burner. But it definitely, I feel that late at night, maybe we drank a bit too much, smoky, hazy feeling to it.
Yeah. There's not a song on Being There, and I hate to make that what I just said sound like a criticism of the song, because I really do like the song. But it is one of the more nothing songs on the album. It's closing the album out, and this is a double album. So it is 19 songs altogether, which is a bit of a heavy album to begin with. And my problem with this long of a track list on an album is I always say the band should have done some self-editing and had like some B-sides they could put out. Because if you took Being There, which is my second favorite of the Wilco albums, I think they could have made it tighter and made it a better album. But again, it's my second favorite, so obviously they didn't do a bad job with it.
Yeah, definitely. There's the thought that sometimes less is more. In recent years, as I think vinyl records have had a resurgence. I listen to most of my music on vinyl these days, at least when I'm at home. When I'm in the car, obviously that's not possible yet.
No, they did that back in the 60s, man. There's a whole thing about sound systems in cars back in the 60s. They had vinyl record players on the hump between the passenger and driver's seat, but they went away for obvious reasons. Yeah. They went away fast.
So sorry, that's not possible to do it without destroying your records.
That's exactly
yet.
Yeah.
But I think there is a lot of albums from the CD era that are longer than they should be. Being There, you could tell Jeff made a very conscious effort to do a genuine double album. It's not like nowadays if you buy Yankee Hotel Foxtrot on vinyl, it is a double LP record. Mm-hmm. But it's not. I wouldn't classify it a double record, right? It's 50 minutes long. It just ended up that it didn't fit all on 2 vinyl records, and they weren't thinking about vinyl records when they're making the record. Right. I believe Jeff was thinking about maybe not vinyl records directly, maybe more about just having that feeling of a vinyl record and having to swap the discs out when he did Being There. So I think he definitely made a very good effort to have 19 quality songs on that album. There isn't a song that I would cut, but if you put a gun to my head and told me pick a song that you have to cut off Being There, I guess it might be a song like Was I in Your Dreams, or Why Would You Want to Live, which is the next song chronologically on the track list. So I guess that was a very long roundabout way to say I understand what you're saying, and I agreed with you to a certain point. It is not a highlight on the album, but to me it's still a good song. It's a solid song, and I'm glad ultimately that it's on the album, because it does stand out from the rest of the album. It's a good song to have.
Kevin, you magnificent bastard. You know what you just did for me? You just made sense of what has always bothered me about long double albums. It was driving in my car, having to you finish the first disc, having to take that second disc out and put it in. But you know what? In the year 2020, that doesn't matter anymore, because it's all on your phone and it's just going to play straight through anyhow. So you get to listen to the album without changing a disc. I bet I had a brainwashing experience from hating to change it, because I'm very anti playing with your phone. I'm very anti doing anything besides driving when you're driving. I mean, obviously you can listen to podcasts and stuff like that, but anything further than that, or music, anything further than that, I'm very against. But you probably just pinpointed what my problem was, because I would end the first disc of Being There back in '98. And then I'd be like, oh, well, I have to wait till a stoplight that's long enough for me to take this disc out, put it carefully back into its case so it doesn't get scratched up, get the other disc out, because it was in those sleeves. The discs were on their sleeves, so it was kind of
the little booklets too. Did you have one of the CD wallets?
Right. And so it was more of a pain in the ass than just taking out one CD, and then you'd have to change the disc. But now I don't have to do that. So I bet if I was a 18-year-old right now when this album came out, it wouldn't bother me as much that it's so long. I wonder if that's why I dislike long albums. I wonder if
yeah, 100%. I guess my issue is two things. Definitely when I was a kid I'm young, I'm a few years younger than you are, so I would have been listening to this actually on CD before I got an iPod in the year 2004, 2005. And so definitely I am more familiar probably from those early days from the first disc, because the first disc was if I was riding a bus to school, I'd get through the first disc. I wouldn't always get through the second disc, right?
Right.
I wouldn't always make it to song 16 of 19 on the second disc. So when I think of Being There, I think of Forget the Flowers, I think of I Got You, even Hotel Arizona, and Sunken Treasure too, because I think that's just such an epic song. But I don't necessarily always think of Was I in Your Dreams. I do have the opposite problem now, though, that you're listening to albums on vinyl in 2020 that were not recorded with vinyl being top of mind, like Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, where you play 3 songs and then you have to flip it, and then you play 2 songs, and then you got to put on the second disc, and then you play 3 songs, right? Yeah. What's the great thing with Being There, it is a genuine double album, so if you are listening to it on vinyl, you get 5-6 songs on each side. So you can sit back in your chair, your couch, whatever it is you're listening to, and really get absorbed in the album, and really feel it before you have to get up and swap, which you don't on all the Wilco albums from the 90s and early 2000s.
You know, it's funny. We on my other podcast. This is not a podcast about Dwayne The Rock Johnson. We were talking yesterday when we recorded an episode about how Wilco's Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, the vinyl version, it bothers me that every 3 songs I have to get up and go flip it over or change. Yeah. And yeah. So and it's just funny that you just brought up that exact same thing just now.
Because they didn't record a vinyl or they didn't record albums with that. They recorded albums with the thought that, we have, what are CDs, 70, 80 minutes, somewhere in there?
75, I think, is where CDs stop.
Yeah. A vinyl record is 45, 44 minutes, depending on how you do the grooves.
Yeah, if it's 120 grams, it's like, that's, which is the version of Yankee Hotel Foxtrot I have. It's about 3 songs per side.
Yeah, which is, but then again, they don't want to carve the album up for vinyl and cut off, 1 song or cut off 5 minutes and have it just fit on the 1 LP.
Yeah.
But Being There, you don't have that issue because it is a genuine double album. Now let me ask you this: going back to Was I in Your Dreams? Lyrically, does this song resonate with you? Is there anything that jumps out to you from this song?
So I think it feels a lot to me like the song is about the guy just wondering. He's either in a bad relationship, or he's after a breakup. He's wondering if the person is still thinking about him like he's thinking of them. And it's kind of a obvious takeaway from the song, but that's what I take away from it, is that he's wondering if they think of him the same way that he thinks of them after their breakup, and he's heartbroken about something. That's my takeaway from the song. What is your takeaway?
That is wonderful, because I have a totally different takeaway.
Oh, awesome!
From the song, which is great. So definitely, there's a couple, and there is some issues between them. Now, I looked because I listened to the song a few times, and I tried to. A lot of times, my thoughts on songs tend to be a lot more with my gut and how they make me feel, and I don't. I was never one of those types of people to analyze song lyrics. But to me, Being There is a record about music, or at least a lot of the songs are about music, either being a fan of music, like on The Lonely One, or how music has changed Jeff, like on Sunken Treasure, when he's singing about I was tamed by rock and roll. I got my name from rock and roll. This song, I guess in my head canon of Wilco, I tie this into that. To me, it's Jeff Tweedy, recently married, baby Spencer Tweedy at home. This is a guy who's on the road, hoping his
Wait,
wife's
say that
thinking
again.
about
He
him.
married baby Spencer Tweedy?
No, baby. His wife's at home, and he's got a new baby at
Oh,
home.
okay. Okay.
Because Being There is, I believe, last time I looked at the liner notes, is dedicated to Spencer Tweedy. Jeff's life at that point, his relationship with Sue Miller would have been newer. So he's struggling being a married man on the road, trying to provide for his family, but providing for his family means being apart from his family. So he's sitting on the tour bus, hoping that his wife's thinking about him the way he's thinking about her. That's how I interpreted it.
Oh man, you know what?
Nope.
You're absolutely right. You were absolutely right. Let me because there's something something you just said reminded me of a lyric in the song that I was reading earlier. Hold on, you were absolutely right about that, man. That's very apt of you. Let's see. Was I in your dreams? Did I touch your hand? Try to understand. I got you on the phone. Yeah, so he's obviously away from home right now. He's got her on the phone. I think you're absolutely right about this.
I mean, not every lyric is going to be autobiographical. I don't know how does a dreamer die when his dreams die too. Like, I don't know how that factors into
Here
that.
it is. Here it is. Did you hold your pillow? Did you squeeze me tight?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of when you said that. I think you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
But you know what, man? That's one of the great thing about Jeff's lyrics, because the song "A Shot in the Arm," which I have, the take that I have on that song is very. I think after talking to some of my other friends about it, they take the song completely differently than I do. But I think the reason I take it the way that I take it is because of the relationship that I was in when I heard the song, and a very passive aggressive thing she would do in that relationship. I'm not going to say it right now. We're going to wait till that episode, so stay tuned, folks.
Yeah, no spoilers. No spoilers.
But she would do a very specific thing that relates in a way to the lyrics of that song that makes me take the meaning of that song very differently than my friends do.
Yeah. I mean, in general, I think Jeff is not a songwriter who there certainly are examples of him being specific, but in general, I think he tends to use his words as poetry, but he doesn't specifically talk about individual things, right? Like in the new song, which we're not going to get to for a while, so I don't mind talking about it a little bit right now, is "Tell Your Friends." I think is very clearly about, tell your friends I love you, or tell your friends you love them. Is very clearly about the pandemic and lockdown, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in general, for on a Wilco album, the what are the songs about doesn't jump out to you right away, and you can interpret it many different ways. I think this is just a good example of two people reading the same lyrics differently. Which is, I think, just a sign of good songwriting.
Yeah, because you start off listening to it like on a very basic level, because they're just really like, this song is a very simple lounge song, like you call it, like a lounge song, but it's kind of like a lounge song. But like a lot of Wilco songs, if you sit there and you listen to them a few times and you think about it, you can listen to it 50 times, but on that 51st time, also it's going to strike a chord with something going on in your life probably that makes it have a whole new meaning to you.
Yeah, and a lot of times too, you have to look at what Jeff, the writer, was going through at that time. I had a lot of time because this is our first batch of episodes, and I'm excited about doing this. I had a lot of time to think about like what is being there really together, and think about it in a more in a way that I haven't thought of before. I think about reading Jeff's book, which came out a couple years ago. He talks about A Ghost is Born is him writing he thought he was going to die, so he's writing the album for his son so that they when they get older they can understand him. And there's the remember to remember me in Hummingbird and like stuff like which I had never thought of it that way before. And then all of a sudden an album that I already loved, that was already meant a lot to me, all of a sudden means even more to me because you understand everything in a new light.
What you just said rings home so true to me too, man, because A Ghost is Born is admittedly not one of my favorite of wasn't one of my favorite of their albums, but after reading the book, or I'm sorry, I should say I listened to the book. I listened to it on Audible, but after hearing him talk about that, it changed my perspective on that album so much that it boosted it. I'd say a good 3 points, just because it was like it meant so much more, not to me, but just I could tell to him it meant so much more than what I assumed it was. I always just looked at it as like we're not talking about the song we're supposed to be talking about, but I always looked at A Ghost is Born as like the follow-up to Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, and it was just like, of course it's going to be a letdown. And I think that kind of flavored my perception of the album, unfortunately. But when I listened to his book, I was like, oh wow, man, like there's more to it than that. And it changed my perception of the album.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We're about 27 minutes now, so you want to wrap things up with this song, and we'll see people on the next episode?
Yeah, I think I've said everything I have to say about this song. I mean, we talked a lot about the lyrics, but it's a 3.5-minute song, and really, there's what, maybe 2 verses. The phrase "Was I in your dreams" is repeated. I'm looking at the lyrics now 5-6 times. So it's not verses upon verses of poetry. It is a rather simple song lyrically. It's a rather simple song musically, but I think it stands out from the rest of the album. I think it does. I think there was a conscious effort to start being there with front loaded with some heavy rockers like Monday and Out of Sight, Out of Mind and I Got You and Hotel Arizona. But by the time we get to this part, it's later in the night, we're tired, things are hazy, and it definitely fits in that ambience.
That's a beautiful way to put it, man. I'm in completely agree. The first record on for this double album is where it all is. And I think this second record is kind of like, I think they're kind of just are the second disc to the album. It's kind of just them saying, hey, if you liked what you just heard, here's some other stuff we were working on during that time that we felt was good enough to include with these. But yeah, but it's a great song on a great album, and I'm glad it was the first one we did. If you guys want to find our podcast, well, you obviously have found our podcast, but go to abcwilco.com. You can find how to leave us a voicemail and tell us your thoughts on the album. Maybe we'll play it on the show. You can send us an email by going to by sending an email to abcwilco@gmail.com. Let us know what your thoughts are that way. Let us know what your thoughts are in any way, and we'll try our best to share your thoughts. And I guess we'll see you on the next episode.